Good morning. How are you, everybody? How are you? All 21 of you. I love every single one of you in a regular way, not in a weird way. So, good morning. I hope all is well with you. Let's make a few adjustments here on the tubes and we'll get started. I have a few things that I would love to talk about. And of course, as always, we'll go over some low board stuff and look at how cool everything is and how awesome everything is. So we'll and it's all perspective, man. It's all perspective. I finally had a banging week this week, and it still has potential to be much more. I was ill prepared for one client yesterday, so we had to kind of make a few adjustments, but other than that, we've had a pretty good week. $22,000 worth of freight booked this week so far. So there's still money to be made out there. You just got to go out and find it. Find it. Oh, and also don't forget, ta-da, I have new mugs because I'm a narcissist and I love looking at my name on everything. And you too can also look at my name on all the stuff that you own by going to my store. I am selling a little piece of my soul every time you buy a mug from me. So there you go. And then it said, I got to be careful not to spill this on my keyboard, but strength for today, hope for tomorrow, right? So how many trucks for that 22K? 4 trucks. 4 trucks. So I cannot handle more than 5. I've tried. Somebody always gets lost in the mix, so I have to regulate myself. See, what else was I going to talk about? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. So good morning. I hope all is well. I've been making some connections. I've had a really good week this week. Despite the holiday, I was able to capitalize on some of it. Some of it I wasn't. So, it's just it is what it is, and it's what we're dealing with. So I've started journaling, like I've talked about, and I'm going to cut up that video where I talk about that so you guys don't have to suffer through another live feed just to get to that golden nugget. And that's something I'm trying to improve on, is cutting up these live feeds and taking out all the fluff and just getting to the meat, because meat is good. Preferably steak, ribeye, chuck. Are we back? All right. I think we're back. All right. Okay. We should be back. Okay, there we go. All right, we're back. We back. All right. Sorry about that. Our internet's all jacked up, right? Our internet's all jacked up. So anyways, good morning. Let's go over some comments, and we'll get to the meat and potatoes. Potatoes are bad. They're starchy. You don't want that. We'll get to the meat and the broccoli of what we're dealing with here. So let's see. Sean Fairman's at Whirlpool in Ohio. I remember that place. There's like one spot when you're dropping the trailer where the they have that beam, that pole, right? That's right in the way. And that's usually where you got to drop the trailer because everybody else took all the easy spots. That's usually the one you got to get, right? Tennessee Trucking. How are you doing, Matt? I haven't heard from you in a while. How's old Swifty Swift treating you? Hope you're doing okay. CDN Freight Broker is second. Cowardly Lion is fourth. So that would make Tennessee. I don't know the number. You guys got all the numbers screwed up. Good morning, Steve. Says CDN. Wife Lord. Good morning. Sterling made wife. He paid Wife Lord to change her name, so she did. That's the wife. The next name is going to be Snore Wife instead of Wife Lord. It'd be Snore Wife. So Grafton, what's up? Cheap Freight Hauler. Good morning. CB, what's up? Rockin' Robin Trucking. Hi y'all. Hi y'all. Grafton is laughing. How many trucks for that 22K? We already answered that. 4. Yeah, nice. It's like the old days, right? It's like the old days. And here it was a combination of a couple of things. Okay, there's like 3 home runs in there. One was cross country. Well, 3 of them are cross country. But we got a really decent rate going up to New York, and then we got New York, Colorado, and then I got the home run out of Colorado. That was the big one, right? And then so I guess all 4 except no, not all 4, all 3. 3 of them were cross, like you're talking 2,000 miles, and then the 4th one, Utah to Colorado, and then Colorado to Georgia, and that will be delivered on Monday. So, and then out of Georgia, I'm pretty confident I can get a decent rate because volumes in the south or southeast are still pretty good. Let's see. I'm grateful for the last couple of days with my grown daughter. Been thrifting, museum, meandering, and participating in her vegan diet regimen. Well, good, man. Good times with good family. That's what life is all about. All this money and trucking crap can go out the window if you don't have the good things that really matter, right? Let's see. Sounds good, says Daryl Worth. There's me. Boulder Woods, what's up? I find myself puzzled by, I guess I don't follow a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, TJ, and I find myself confused by some of your postings and videos. Like you did a short, you were in the hospital hallway, and I have no idea what you were talking about. Maybe it's for the better. So Flatbed Trucker, what's up? Good morning. Mr. Charles, morning from sunny Florida. That's a change. We might be friends, but you definitely married up. Just saying. Home runs out of Colorado are rare. Great job. Yeah. Well, it's through connections. It's through relationships. And there was a broker that I'd lost contact with, and we reestablished a connection there thanks to one of our drivers. And we were able to serve them 2 good drivers. Shannon just did one of those loads as well. And that's that. Look, when it comes to dispatch service, I want to be able to offer you something, right? I want to be able to offer access to freight that you may not get just, all willy-nilly on the load board. So that's my goal. And if I can create a good network where the like trucks can come up to me and say, "Hey man, help me out here," and I can, that serves them and it serves me. So I like helping a driver make money to withstand the powers of the storm that we're in, and that's fulfilling to me, and I enjoy that. Do I miss driving a little bit? Yeah, I do. I mean, I like truck driving. I like trucks. Do I enjoy being at home and being able to serve others like this and help them be successful in their goals? Absolutely. That's fulfilling as well. So it's trying to find balance. And there's a good possibility that if this keeps up, the truck will be put up for sale. So just letting you all know, because I think that this is where my heart is right now. That might change next week. You never know. So, but we got to do what we got to do. And like trucking has taken off this week. We've got quite a few people coming in, and it's we're growing. So it's helping the situation. And as I grow, we grow, and as we grow, the network becomes stronger and better. So just remember that. Just remember that, right? Now, can I always run a home run out of Colorado? No, because I had two trucks in Colorado. One got a home run, the other one got a double. So Big Rig CO did a really great video about Moneyball. And you don't need the home runs, you just need to get on base. And sometimes that's the only approach you got, which brings us to the leverage thing that we'll talk about here in a little bit. This Trucker's Life, good morning. I-35 Manor, Texas to Monroe, North Carolina. 14 foot wide. Are you asking, or is that what you're doing? Good morning, Steve in chat. Trucking with T-Bone, what's up? Everybody's got the trucker in the name. Doing okay. Miles and paychecks still good. 3,400 plus per week with 1,800 to 2,400 depending on how I fuel. Saving that money for my own truck, riding the wave to the end. There you go. Pigtail, good morning. Great conversing with you yesterday. Yeah. So it's something I'm going to say. Mr. Thomas Wilson, who doesn't like this, he did like my live feed with the music that I did on the 4th. Something I will say: if you are the smartest person in the room, you need to go to a different room. I heard that the other day, and I thought, that's so true, right? That's so true. And so just keep that in mind when you're watching some of these other people go on about absolutely nothing. So, Mr. Charles fighting back. Thomas, you're boring. You're boring. SST, what's up? I had a good conversation with Mr. Wilson yesterday. We were discussing what I talked about on my live feed on Wednesday, which I was in my minivan, and helping the son out with some things that he needed to accomplish. And we were talking about the video that Daniel Adami contributed to Bonehead Truckers, and we were talking about, was he in the right? Was he in the wrong? The whole situation about, approaching people with your camera confrontationally and what that leads to. We were talking about that, and it was a good discussion. I've had that discussion with a few people, actually. Pigtail and I were talking about it. So, and that's what YouTubers do, right? If they can make a video that's got everybody talking about it, then goal accomplished, right? Everybody gives Truckers Coach a lot of crap, but you know what? He knows how to get everybody talking about him. So, and so guess what? The YouTube algorithms, they don't care about anything else. They see those numbers and they push it. So the more you talk about something, the more YouTube pushes it. So if there's something that is going on that you don't like, don't talk about it. And then therefore you don't push the narrative. It's as simple as that, right? Anyways, Thomas Wilson is so boring, he doesn't even have one of these cups. So there you go. Shots fired. And he knows that. See? So he knows that, right? Going to find a load to get the Iowa 80 Jamboree next week. Oh, I forgot. It shouldn't be too bad to get to Iowa. Damn Tennessee, I make over double that on 15 to 1,800 miles. All right. All right. So let's look at a load availability. Let's first get this on the screen so I'm not like looking like a and that way you guys know what I'm talking about. And then we're going to talk about leverage. By the way, hold on. DIY Semi and I, we do these book reviews, and this is the book. Here, let me hide the screen again. This is the book that's next in the book report. Dang it, dang green screen. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. The last chapter in this is pure gold. It took me 3 times the amount of time to read the final chapter. Thanks, YouTube Shorts. That was part of it. But the other part was because I was constantly highlighting, dog-earing, and writing in this book. Because there's a lot of gold when it comes to negotiating, whether you're negotiating direct contracts or you're negotiating with brokers. And one of the things that you need to recognize is when you have leverage and when you don't. And how do you react to that when you don't? And I think that's what we're all dealing with here. If there's 100 loads for one truck, we have the leverage. If you're the only truck in the area and there's 100 loads that need to be moved, you have so much leverage, you're going to hit a home run unless you're just not paying attention. If you are one of 100 trucks looking at 10 loads, you have zero leverage. Or do you? What can you offer to create leverage? Right? How do you create leverage? How do you find leverage? CDN has talked about it, about how do you present yourself? What can you offer that the other trucks can't? You might be able to take that lower load while everybody else is lower rate, while everybody else is sitting, because you understand that you're getting to a better market. And did you do another Venmo, Thomas? Thank you very much. And dang, Thomas, you're too generous. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. He pays good money to call me a hoe. So, anyways, recognizing when you do or don't have leverage. In other words, let's say you're in, I don't know, let's say you're in Springfield, Missouri. Let's say you're hanging out with me and you're like, Steve, I got to get home. So I need to find a load to Sparks, Nevada. Right? Sparks, Nevada. And I got to be there by Sunday. You have no leverage. You're going to pick whatever load is in the area that goes to Sparks, Nevada. Right? Now, you don't have to let the broker know that you have no leverage. You don't have to let the broker know that, I need to get home. But you can play it off. You can sit there and say, well, Mr. Broker or Mrs. Broker, man, Sparks, Nevada is a tough market. And I'm going to give you ELD tracking. I'm going to use your tracking apps. I will be on time, even though this is kind of a tight run. I'm going to make it happen. And man, it's that weight. I mean, I got to be at this number. And and Nevada's a tough market. You can kind of play it off. Now, if there's still 100 trucks needing to get to Sparks, Nevada, and there's only 10 loads, yeah, you still don't have any leverage. So how do you present yourself? So you speak clear. You speak clearly, you speak non-confrontational, you give them a good vibe, and that's sometimes that's your only leverage. Is maybe you're the one person that broker talked to today that's not being an ass to him, right? Maybe you're the one person that's not like getting confrontational because they're trying to offer you a low rate. Or maybe you're the only one that's okay with the 3 a.m. appointment that on the delivery side. Or, once you find out that it's going to Kroger, that you're willing to, oh, well, it's Kroger, so I got to be up here. But, I know a lot of drivers won't do it because of Kroger. Maybe it's one of those scenarios. So you got to create your leverage when you have none. So the broker, as far as they know, you're not trying to get home to Sparks, Nevada. You're just a dude looking for a load, right? Or dudette, whatever's floating your boat that day. And you book the load. It's exactly what you needed. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's where you lose a little bit of leverage. Let's say they're like, I'm at $1 a mile, can't go any higher, take it or leave it. Then you have to evaluate whether you're going to take that or not. Is it costly? Is it more costly just to go home? Depending on what the situation you're trying to go home for, maybe it's something that you can't absolutely miss no matter what, so you're just going to deadhead home. Or are you going to take that buck a mile for 45,000 pounds? And so the other element of being non-confrontational is, let's say that I call in a load and they go, yeah, we're paying about $1.10 a mile on this. And you're like, oh wow, that seems extreme. Is there a reason why it's that low? Because that's covering my fuel and hope that I don't blow a tire. I mean, what help me understand why it's that low. And if they don't want to talk about it, then you don't want to have business with that person anyways. If they have legitimate excuses, legitimate reasons why they can justify, well, the shipper's got her hands tied. This is what they're trying to move it for. They're not budging. Like, okay, well, I understand. Maybe they need to be educated on what it costs to move a truck. But I understand. I like having free shipping on my Amazon package, so I won't contribute to that. Have a nice day. You can do that non-confrontationally. You can educate without shoving it in their face. This whole TikTok generation, we want to yell. We want to shove it in your face, our education. It's like if I go through YouTube Shorts and I'm seeing somebody yelling at me, trying to show me how to sharpen a knife, it's like, you need to do this, that raw, and they're shoving it in your face. Like, I don't want any part of that. That's not how you teach. And unfortunately, people think that the higher the volume your voice is, the more that you're going to listen. That's just not the case. There are plenty of videos out there of people arguing with each other that all they do is repeat themselves louder and louder and louder, thinking that they're winning this argument, and they're not. So the less confrontational you are with a broker, especially if they need to be educated, like, hey, man, there was one guy I was like, man, I feel sorry for you. He was like, why? I said, man, I can't imagine being forced to sell loads for $1 a mile. I can't. I mean, are you getting a lot of bad vibes from that? Are you getting a lot of people arguing with you? Yeah, man, it's been tough. Well, why would you put? Man, I feel bad for you that you're even in that situation. You know. Now, am I going to get the load after this conversation? Probably not. Will I take the load for $1 a mile? Depends. If it's 5,000 pounds and it pays for my fuel to get home to Sparks, Nevada, then I might. If I know the customers and I know it's not going to turn into anything. But if it's 45,000 pounds and it's got an extra day on it and it's going to a Kroger, absolutely not. I won't deal with that. Right? So it's all perspective. It's all perspective. Where's your cup? Your cup's probably somewhere in China where these are made. I believe the printing is done here in the States. I actually ordered a sample of a bunch of new things that I added to the store, including the hat, and this came within a week. I was quite surprised. DIY semi definitely married up to. Yes, he did. Black Swan identification. That's going to be a whole different video because we're Black Swan is and we're again this will be covered in the book review that DIY will and I will do. But Black Swan event is something out of the ordinary that you didn't see coming. Like the vid, the shutdowns, the $7 a gallon fuel that some of us saw, and those are Black Swan events, right? The retired trucker, yo. Been busy to finish that book, but I will. It's a great that last chapter. If you have to, just skip over to that chapter and you'll see the value in that book. Which a lot of the stuff you probably already know, CDN, because I know you're on your A game. SST says hi, Pale Rider. David Riverman, good morning to you, sir. I'm back on the road. Hopefully everybody had a fabulous Fourth. Yes, we did. We did all right. One of the best negotiation books I have ever read, and Pigtails read a lot. So JF Chucker, good morning. Happy for you, Thomas. A lot of people are having it rough right now. Create your leverage. Yes, create your leverage. If it's a larger brokerage, maybe you can bribe the individual with a Venmo. It's I don't know, that would probably backfire because like, yeah, man, I'll do that. Like I wouldn't Venmo that person until I actually picked it up. But look, a lot of these bigger brokerages, the agents, their hands are tied. They can only they're told to go, and I've seen that computer screen. I've seen what they look like. I have some brokers that are very generous with their information. Now, is it a tactic on their part? Sometimes it is. Like, oh, look, this is all I got in it. Here's proof. And it's just some number that's some odd number. But at the same time, they will admittedly say, Steve, you don't want this load. This load sucks. That's the kind of relationship I have with some of these brokers. They're like, dude, you don't want this one. This one sucks. I can't get any money for you on this one. And they'll let me go without a load versus giving me a bad load. That's the kind of brokers you need to partner with. I've literally done that. I'll check one of my reps. I'm like, hey man, what about this load? And they're like, because I need something specific. It's like, man, I wouldn't do this load. This is horrible. I can only go up about $50 on this. Oh man, well, this other brokerage has got this. They literally said, well, you should probably do that one because I don't want to give you this load because this load sucks. That's the kind of relationships I've established over the 6 years I've been doing this. So sailboat fuel is more expensive to haul than 43,000 pounds of scrap paper to a bad market for a below market rate. I agree with that, CB. I agree with that. Nothing but a doom and gloom book? No, it's not. It talks about how this guy uses his negotiation skills to save people's lives. Save people's lives. So I don't think that's a doom and gloom book. A fast nickel beats a slow dime, CB. So yeah, there's some really great valuable lessons when you read something, right? When you expand your horizon, when you expand your vision, and so when you can take all the trivial crap that's being argued about on the internet, take that out of your life, and focus on something that's going to better you or better your family or better your business or all the above. Changes your perspective on things that makes you go, huh? Because once you're aware of something, you can make changes. And that's how you have leverage. Look, if you're a dry van and you're one of 100 drivers in the truck stop looking for a load. If you have a better and more educated perspective on how freight moves, that gives you leverage over the other people. If you have a better understanding about how brokers work, the good and the bad, that gives you leverage to the guy that just entered the spot market and doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't know what he's looking at, doesn't understand supply and demand. That alone gives you leverage. Knowledge gives you leverage. Let me repeat that. Knowledge gives you leverage. When you have nothing else, when you're all driving the same freight liners and you all have the same trailers and you're all looking at the same Niagara water loads coming out of Kansas City, knowledge of spotting these things and utilizing these things and capitalizing these things, knowledge gives you the leverage over that person that's just like, oh, I can't get this. It's that simple. It really is. It's not rocket. All right, we should be back. Man, this internet. I blame sunspots. So we're back. So I got to move my head. It is about understanding human behavior and tendency to help you achieve your desired outcome in any negotiation. Thomas Wilson, think about this. You're going to buy a new RV here soon, right? You're going to need negotiating power, right? And I know you're a good negotiator. You got your truck for a good dime and you negotiated hard for that truck. The more you understand the person that you're negotiating against, whether it's a broker, whether it's an RV salesperson, whether it's a Corvette salesman, whether it's your dispatcher that obviously helps you make money. Understanding their behavior and what their intentions are and what motivates them, that's how you gain leverage over the next person that might show up on the RV lot and go, I like this one. Can you come down? Not understanding why things are the way they are, right? I don't think I would call that a book of gloom. Would I? Taking the time, look, you don't need a book to try to understand. You have to be empathetic. You have to recognize things. You have to recognize, when someone lashes out, like if someone lashes out on me because they don't like me for some reason, I want to understand why. Like I was like, okay, what about me is so annoying that you have to talk about me for 20 minutes on a social media platform? What have I done to inspire this kind of energy? I want to understand. They might like, well, because one day you said this, that, and the other, and da 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 da. I'm like, okay, well, now I understand. Now I understand where you're coming from. And sometimes people just want to watch the world burn. And so once you understand that part, then you can kind of move on from that. Yeah, there are some really good examples in the book, right? CB says you back. All right. SST, is it the internet or StreamYard? No, it's the internet. Because I'm watching the little Wi-Fi icon. So, Shannon Thomas, good morning. Uh, since February, only one has sold in that amount of time. They're really getting hungry now, especially with the economy getting much worse. Yeah, and I think it's weird. I've seen like Ratman Roden posted they're wanting a new Cadillac SUV. They wanted to. I think they were charging like $200,000 for this thing, and he was like, they're out of their minds, right? So it's understanding the other side of the table. Like even at, okay, let's say you're not owner operator, you're just watching me because you don't care about owning a truck, but you like looking at my beard or see what heavy metal T-shirt I got on today. And you're a company driver, you can still get leverage by understanding your dispatcher, understanding why they might. Hey, why'd you give me that crappy load that I waited 20 hours to get loaded? That I know is paying cheap. Why'd you do that? And then they might go, well, you were the only truck in the area, or we're getting you to the other load that's going to pay you really well. Or why did you send me on a load that's only 60 miles? I need miles, man. I need money. Well, because that 60 miles is a way for us to get to the big paying load. And so it kind of helps pay the bills because the idea is to keep the truck moving at a profit at all times. And so that's why we dispatch, because you're the only one that was available for that period of time. And once you understand that and why, then you're like, okay, well, I guess that makes sense. And then then mentally you're like better about it. Now, if they give you fluff, oh, because that's the only load that we can get for you, and it's not, there's an ulterior motive. You need to acquire the gift of discernment to discern when you're being had and when you're not. Like any broker can show me their screen, quote unquote. Dude, I'm losing money on this load. And you know what you do? You throw it right back at them. Well, my costs are X amount per mile, so I'm losing money on this load too. So, if we're both losing money here, then what are we doing? And that will, you know, that might get there, even if you don't get the load, even if nothing is accomplished, you can at least give them a perspective to think about for a second. And maybe using that method, this is all I got in it, may not be the best method for them to use. That 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 is how life is done. And I'd like to say if I was a broker, I would not want to use that whole "this is all I got in it," because when you say that "this is all I got in it," you're counting on that broker is counting on you to have sympathy for them, not empathy. They're counting on you to be caught up in your feelings and caught up in emotion. Oh man, I'm so sorry that you're losing money on this. They're hoping that you become emotional. And then to me that's not a good. I mean, there's a time and a place when you want to manipulate emotions in a negotiating situation. That's not one of them. Because what the broker is telling you is like, I don't care about your problems. I want you to consider mine first. And to me, that's a bad tactic. Now, what I would do as a broker, maybe I'm wrong, CDN, if you're watching, correct me if I'm wrong. Instead of using that's all I have in it, I would utilize, well, this is all I can give up because of what my boss is requiring for me, or because of my quota, or because of I have to keep it within a certain percentage. And if you're the only truck in the area, I could give that to you, but because you're not, I have to pass you up. Thank you for your time. I would do that. But I've never brokered a load, so I may not know what the hell I'm talking about. But I would think that that would be a better tactic for future negotiations with the same driver or the same broker. right? So to me, when I hear a broker tell me that this is all I've got in it, or I'm losing money, well, if I have a 4,000 month truck note and I haven't been home for 3 months, and I've got a sick child at home that I'm trying to get to, and um, I've got new tires that are due. I'm due for new tires, and I don't know how I'm going to make it. The last thing I'm going to do is consider your feelings because you're losing money, Mr. Broker, on a load. So to me, I wouldn't even bring that up that way because someone struggling is not going to have sympathy for you. Understanding that allows you to be a better negotiator. And right away, what's going to happen is you're going to recognize when brokers are using tactics on you, or where they're actually doing their job and they're moving the load honestly, right? And there are honest brokers, and the people that are honest, that they suffer a little bit, they struggle through a little bit. Recognize. Look, an experienced broker can recognize when a carrier calls and has no experience, doesn't know what they're talking about. Just like when I call a broker, I can tell for the most part that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know what the hell they're doing. There's been a couple that use some negotiating tactics that I recognize from that book. I'm like, touche. And I still book the load. You know what? But I have a better respect for them. And it's usually because I've lost my leverage because I need something specific. And so I'm like, well, good job on you, man. You win. I actually say that you win because you're not going to win every single negotiation. You're not going to win every single day. You're not going to get that home run every single day. And it's as simple as that. And so you take your defeat, you bow gracefully. Good job on you. I'll get you next time. And that's what you do. Think about this. If I'm dispatching 5 trucks a week and they're getting a load a day, how many times am I negotiating? That's quite a bit. Now, these particular loads this week were all one big load. There was one driver that had 2 big loads. Or no, 2 drivers that had 2 big loads. So, but that's still one, two, three, four, five, six times I had to negotiate. How many different brokers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different brokers. And sometimes things are such a fast pace that you don't have time to play the game. Because while you're sitting there smoozing, or you're having a conversation, or you're trying to educate the broker, or the broker's trying to educate you and tell you how much money they don't have in it and all this other stuff, another carrier is talking to the other agent that's covering that load. Or another carrier is going to take that $500 hit that you are not willing to take to grab that load because people are desperate. The more desperate you are, the less leverage that you have. So, are we still getting out there? Because nobody's commenting. So that's kind of where we're at, right? That's kind of where we're at. So, anyways, let's go over to low board. Somebody make a comment to see if we're still commenting here. It's kind of throwing me off here. Okay, you're here. Okay. Everybody's so enthralled that they're not coming. So, oh, thank you. All right. So, yep, feed is still good, says wife Lord, and my son just said so. So, all right. All right, so let's share the screen here. Let's go back to the 123 low board. Enough talking, right? Like the cat wants out. Or does he? I don't know. He's being weird. There he goes. Everyone's just quiet for some reason. Yeah, everybody's captivated. Captivated. Test. Thank you. Pigtail. Thank you. All right, so let's look at reefer first. Now, California. Oh, look at Idaho and Washington light up. Let's take a look at Idaho. Let's look at ID here. Let's look at the ID. Let's see. We've got Boise to Cheyenne. Of course, that's going to pay pretty good per mile. Let's sort this by. Sort it by rate. Let's see where the big paying loads are going. 6,700 to go to Mass. You're looking at 252, 217, 229, 203. 203 to go to Florida on a refrigerated load. Let's take a look at that one. See how much lower they are than what Cargo Chief is showing. Cargo Chief is showing 5,600. They're at 55. No information. Picks up in Twin Falls on the 11th. That's Tuesday. So that and see, here's the thing. If I call in this load now, they're going to be like, their leverage is going to, well, we've got a lot of time, so we're not pressed to move this. It depends on the broker situation. He might have a guy who's like, you better have all of Tuesday's loads booked by today or else. So they might be more apt to give you some money to make sure it's covered. But if they're going to wait till the last minute, knowing that they can get a carrier at the last minute, they're going to wait and take the risk of having to put more money on the last minute than, you know. So you lose a little bit of leverage when you book ahead. Now, I prefer to book ahead. It reduces the pressure and it helps you plan a lot better. It helps the driver plan a lot better. If you're the sole person that you're dispatching, then it helps you plan better. All right, so let's do rate per mile. See where all the short stuff is. The highest rate per mile. Is going to Montana, Colorado. Oh, here's one, 252 a mile. It's the same one going to Mass. Now, as you can see, Massachusetts doesn't look good. It's red. So now let's look at inbound. What's coming into Idaho? California, 302 a mile, $1,800. So one can argue that you might be able to do Idaho to California and make some good coin per mile and maybe increase your rate per day. So that's how you might want to look at that, recognizing that lane. If there's a lane, obviously there is. There's California, Utah. Here's one, Mississippi, paying $4,000 to go into Rigby. So there's probably not much interstate. Idaho's kind of a small state. Yeah, no loads found. So let's take a look at California. The best loads, let's go with the highest. If we do rate per mile, it's all going to go to Washington. Check this out. Nevada. It's going to go Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, or Washington, or Oregon. Here we go. 352 a mile going to Fife. 352 going to Tacoma. It's probably the same load. 350 go to Phoenix. But then look at the rates coming. So, well, yeah, let's look at inbound California. Who's got the highest rates? Arizona? Wow, that's interesting. But these are like $800 loads. $1,000 for 524 miles. So, but if you look at the overall rate, the best paying loads coming out of California, this is reefer, by the way. Oh, that's inbound. Okay, so yeah, so rate. All right, so outbound, you're looking at here's 8,700 to go to Kissimmee, Florida. 8,750, 348 a mile. They are. So let's click on that one. Let's see what's going on with this one. It's so much higher that I'm curious because the Cargo Chief's got it at 54. Raycheck's got it at 6. Green Screens has it at 76. Reefer at -10, 1 pick, 3 drops. There you go, 3 deliveries. But depending on when this all delivers, that might be a good one. I would want the details, so you're definitely going to call. So that's how you recognize that. Here's another one: Sun Valley, California to Connecticut. Well, your net going to Connecticut's going to be a little bit lower because of fuel and their stupid drive through our state and pay us BS. And then you're going to be frozen, so you're going to be, in the hottest time of the year, you're going to be under. Your reefer is going to be working its butt off. A lot more risk with this load. This picks up Wednesday. So they got a little bit of time on this, but they're already up quite a bit. 43.5. But then let's look at the inbound. What are the highest paying loads going into California? Here you go. Pennsylvania, San Francisco, $1.34 a mile, 38.25. $1.40 to go from Maryland to Mira Loma. That's the Northeast, right? Anderson, Indiana, Modesto, $1.35. Oh, here we go. Edison, New Jersey to Union City, California, fifth wheel freight, $1 a mile, $1.02 a mile, right? That will not cover fuel for the truck and the reefer at the same time. And look how much lower they are below Cargo Chief. $48.65, 4,800 is the norm, and they're at $1.02. And it's alcohol even. So you got to check all the permits from Edison, New Jersey to California. And they're trying to push this off for $1 a mile. So your initial reaction is, what the heck is wrong with these people? Do they not know what it takes to move a truck? Do they not know what it takes to get beer permit or alcohol permits? Do they not know that 43,000 pounds makes my fuel at about 60 to 80 cents a mile? Do they not know that, all these different things? And so most of the time you won't even call on this load. Like you don't have time for this. You don't have time to, and it's and what I'm telling you, this is a negotiation tactic. A lot of times, this is them going, don't even try. This is what it is. I don't want to even fight you on it. This is what you're getting. And if they can move the load, then that makes it to where they'll do it again and again and again. But if they can never move that load at $1 a mile, then the shipper's like, hey, you got to move this at $1 a mile, and they can't, then they'll find another broker that can, and then that broker can't. And it's up to the right broker to sit there and say, hey, we can't move things at $1 a mile. You're going to have to up what you're willing to pay. Or maybe the shipper's actually paying that, and the broker's like, let's see if we can get this done for $1 a mile. All those scenarios exist. I'm not saying that's what's going on here, but that's something you have to think about. So I would call, if you decide to call on this load, and say, okay, well, why is it that you're you're only posting for $1.02 a mile. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to, that's one of the tactics in the book. How am I supposed to make that work? And if they go, well, I don't care, man, it's not my problem, then you just thank you, have a nice day, click. Obviously, they're not wanting to understand the situation. What if they go, well, we know that you're going to get good money coming out of California, so we know that you can take a hit coming in. If they actually say that, and I've had brokers actually say that, like, how do you know what I'm going to get in the future? Because next week, by the time I get there, rates could take a dump. It's hard for me to be profitable on this load. So help me understand how you're, oh, we move these all the time. We do 5 of these a week at $1.02 a mile. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I wonder how they're doing it. Can you which carriers are doing that? Because I would love to know why and how they're doing that. I mean, call it out without being confrontational, without being argumentative. Like, oh, I'm trying to understand how I'm supposed to make this work. And if they have no empathy, if they don't care, if they tell you it sucks to be you, then you don't want to be in business with that person anyways. Whether you need this load or not, right? There are other ways to get to California. It doesn't require alcohol permits and so this is the part of the understanding that you have to figure out. It's not easy. And sometimes that might be your only choice. What are you going to do about that? How do you mentally and financially prepare that is your only option? What are you going to do? You're going to find other options. You're like, you know what? This sucks. I'll do this one time just to get home. Let's say you live in California. But man, I got to figure that I'm going to figure out I'm never going to New Jersey again. You might do that. So it's all perspective. It's all perception. It's all how much knowledge do you do that? Now, Thomas Wilson says the Indian trucks work dirt cheap. Okay, so what I would do is I would find they're easy to spot. I would find somebody of that culture and say, "Hey, how are you guys? I notice you have a nice truck, and I notice that you run this area a lot. How are you making that work? What are you doing to make this work? Are you taking these dollar mile loads? If so, what are you doing to insulate yourself the rest of the time?" You can learn from these people. You can learn from the people. If you have 100 trucks that are able to move this load at $1 a mile, I want to understand how they're doing it, because maybe they're doing something that I haven't thought of. Maybe they've got some special advantage, that is not possible for me. So let those people have those dollar mile runs, right? Understanding your competition, understanding who you're negotiating with, understanding how freight moves. Freight doesn't just move off the low boards, it moves on the golf courses, it moves in the dinner meetings, it moves in the Zoom meetings, it moves at the seminars, it moves because you went to high school with the right person that happens to be the head of a shipping office. Freight has moved 90 some odd percent, depending on how much tender rejections are, of freight is moving without the help of a broker or a low board. What does that tell you? How do you tap into that? Spot market's great for making some money, depending on how you work it, but it's not the only way to make money. And understand, okay, so CDN wants to join, so let's get him in here. Thomas, behave. So Oh, I want that out there. I'm sure he's going to have some great insight on this. All right, I just sent you the link. You were dropping too much knowledge, made some brains freeze up, probably. Late, but here, boss, enjoying some family time this week. Good on you. I think some of the brokers were raised by passive aggressive parents. Do you think the trucks that are taking them cheap loads are making things harder for other trucks to get good paying loads? Yes and no. I think it's a double-edged sword, flatbed trucker. I think that if a broker's trying to move a load in an area that the trucks will move regardless of what the rate is, then yes. Like I was in El Paso with Landstar one time, and I was surrounded by trucks that admittedly took everything for 75 cents a mile. So for me to try to get even $1.50 out of there was a challenge. Oh, here's one for $2 a mile, but it's going to Las Cruces, New Mexico. Good luck getting out of there. Right? Either way, I was taking a hit. Yep, went to New Jersey once, made sure I didn't leave anything that I would ever need to go back for, right? If they tell you that you will get a good rate, then hold their feet to the fire and tell them I will take it if you have a good paying one out now. That's a strategy as well. Like can I can you hook me up with 2 loads? And I've done that. I've done that like, hey, I'm willing to do this load, but I've got to have this on the other side of it. So, hey CDN, what's up, my friend?
Good morning. Is my audio okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
It's not as
So what I
awesome as mine, but it's all right. It's doable.
well, I'm not sure which audio, if it's coming through here or if it's coming through my Bluetooth. I tried to make it come through the mic.
Either way, you're all right. So
Okay.
I wouldn't mess with it. So
Okay.
what say you, my friend?
Well, before I get into the other topics, I actually just came on site here, and I want to use the chat's expertise and your expertise because I'm sure I don't lock my door on myself. It's my little town here. I noticed at the truck dealer, like it's a dealership, but randomly there's a bunch of semis, and I want to see. Uh, there's one sold sign, but there's. Oh, let me see if I can flip the camera. I guess I got to click on settings here, settings, camera.
When it comes to StreamYard, it's just easier just to turn the phone around. Okay, you got it. You found it. Oh, we lost you. He messed up. Dang brokers. They mess up all the time.
Okay,
Dang
sorry about
brokers,
that.
get your act together.
Sorry about that.
It's all
So it
right.
looks like we got some Kenworths here, right? That
Yeah.
KW, is that what that symbol is? I'm a broker, so we don't know much.
That's a black T680. It looks like maybe from anywhere from a 20. Oh, that's a newer one because the panel. So that's probably about a 2018, 2019. That's not brand new though.
No, it's not. It's got the fancy wheel covers.
Yep.
It's got the wheel covers. But so it's what I'm curious about is so that's the guessing game part I was going to bring on. See, so it's got some tread.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what's this one. It's got the
Ooh, it's got
Ace.
the box.
Yeah, the Ace. I'm not sure what. Let's see if on the other side if it's got if these are Canadian worthy. They must be. Oh yeah, it's got the Carrier Comfort Pro.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Wonder how much they want for
So
that truck.
I don't know. That's the question. But my question is, why would a truck dealership there's an open sign. Watch, someone's going to come outside and question what I'm doing. There's a CB inside, but I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think there's 2 in the other lot. See, like there's a car dealership. There's 2 in the other lot. So why would a truck dealer randomly get into 6 all black trucks? So obviously this came from my guessing game, it came from a fleet. What would be your guess?
A fleet, just like they purchased 6 trucks and
or they're
they
selling
traded
6
those
trucks.
in.
They're selling 6 trucks, right?
Well, sometimes fleets are actually leases. Like what I learned about my company I used to drive for, it's actually a lease. So after 400,000 miles, they turn those leases in and get new ones. And those might be the trucks that were turned in.
Yeah. See, they all got carriers. I mean, there's some rust on them, which happens in Canada, unfortunately, because of our crazy winters. But they got, decent sized sleepers. And so that's just the interesting story about the strange things that happen. So, all right, let's see if I can, I'll flip it back here.
Those trucks don't look like they're ready to sell yet. Looks like they haven't been prepped.
Well, one looks like it's sold. They were facing the other side about a week ago. And, is there a logo on here? Kind of very faint. Thought I seen something on here. I was trying to figure out maybe where it came from, but like it doesn't even look like they peeled logos off the door. Like that's the interesting thing about it. Like why would you have 7 trucks as a private not for hire? They got these goofy, some kind of rock protectors, like 3M covers over the lights, but it looks like it's helped, but they're all faded out from the sun. So, anyways, that's just that was my quick live on location reporting scenario there. So let's see if I can do this without exiting out myself.
SST is accusing you're out shopping for trucks. Are you going to become a broker that has trucks?
No.
Oh, come on now. What's your sense of adventure?
Hey, I did it without exiting myself.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but no, and back to the original topic was the brokers, to answer the questions about when brokers say that's all they have in it. Yeah, I agree that that's not the best. That's not the best way of wording it. I would say the better way to word it would be I say my theory would be a little bit open. Maybe I should be inside here. It's a little quieter. I would say it's better to say something along the lines like, if I'm in a situation where all I have in it, truly that's all I have in it, sometimes it's because the customer has set the rate. So in those cases, that's where I say the customer's pushing the rate. This is the rate that they're willing to pay. I can't negotiate with them.
There you go. See, that's a better way of doing it.
That's one way. The second way is, this is one that you, as a broker, you can say it, but you got to be careful. You can say, look, I've got a PO for 10 loads at this price. And I can give you this load at this price today, and I have another load on Monday. If you have another truck on Monday, I'll give you the second load on Monday. So you're showing that you actually have more than one load at that price. That's one option, one way of doing it, right? Where they saying, hey, I got 10 loads at this price. This is what I'm paying because it's a contract that we have for this PO. This is all I can pay. And I've already done 8 loads at this price, right? And so there's that scenario. And then the third option would be when you say that that's all you have in it, you can say, look, I've had 2 trucks drop off on this, and this load is already late. So I'll pay you a little extra. I'm taking a loss, but that's to get this load moving, right? So it's kind of like, I guess the part I was going to bring up is with some brokerages and some carriers and some shippers, you kind of have to pay the price, right? Just like when you play in sports, sometimes if you want to play up, from, like say you were playing in a league, whether it's baseball or basketball, football, doesn't matter, and you were pretty darn good, right? So now you were you were darn good on your team. Whether you're defensive or offense, it doesn't matter, but you were good at what you did. And other coaches saw that. So they recruit you. You're with your friends. You have all your buddies. Because you've all. The reason I'm sharing this, a lot of you can attest to this, in either through yourself or you know someone that's gone through this. So you're really good at what you do. You're around people you've been playing the same sport with for many years. It's your friends. The parents know you and all that. You have a great community. But you're getting a little bit older, and all of a sudden you got more and more coaches saying you got to move up. So okay, so you take the leap. Now you're joining a team. You don't know anybody, and guess what happens? You're riding pine. And you may have
Mhm.
to do that. That's part of the process.
Right.
So that's where we've talked about, like, sometimes you say, okay, I don't like working with brokers. Fine. So go get that direct shipper. But guess what? Direct shippers are not going to give you, even if you come across and you negotiate with them and you give them all the right words, those direct shippers are not going to give you their best freight initially. You're going to have to do some of their crap loads. You're going to have to do some crap stuff to show them, one, that you're not just in there for the money, your level of commitment, your consistency, your execution, and your overall service. So once you show that time and time again, then they'll start to slowly peel the pages back. That opens the doors to other opportunities within that group. So that's kind of the bane of it. You have to know, is there a prize at the end of the day, that if I go through the rookie stages with this shipper or this broker, that when I demonstrate myself, that I will basically have the opportunity to get to the gold, the golden prize, right? That the all elusive high paying loads, or the beautiful, like the nice loads that they offer versus their other stuff, right? So that's what it comes down to.
I can give you a perfect example. So there's a shipper, that's only using this one broker, and it's these home run loads that are big paying loads out of a bad area. And we ran a few of them, and then I lost contact with them. They stopped calling me, they stopped emailing me. The one driver that we have over here at he even lost contact, and we didn't know what happened. We were told that production went down. This whole thing. So finally, the driver went above and beyond to dig for what really happened. So okay, who's this person's boss? He did a lot of the things that you talk about, and finally we found the person that's the new contact for this account. And so we've been trying to get in good with this broker, because now we've got to reprove ourselves. And so our driver, he covered a couple, and then I put Shannon Thomas on one of them because I know that she's a great communicator. And then now I had the broker, so I was bugging her about my trucks in the area. I said, hey, do you have anything? I've got another truck here. And at first she was like, yeah, I've got nothing. And then she goes, well, we just had a carrier not show up, so I've got this one that needs to move now. And she literally told me, I am desperate and I've got X amount. She gave me a big round number, plus $30.66, right? It was one of those deals. And whether that was her tactic or not, what I said, I'll do it for the even big number, just so we can show you that we mean business, just so we can prove ourselves. I was only leaving $30 on the table, right?
Mm.
That's not going to change. That's a parking space, right? So, and she immediately, within an hour, immediately gave us the ability to bid on this particular load on a constant every week, because I showed some grace, I showed some empathy. I didn't take her to the cleaners when I know could have, even though she opened herself up to that. Unless that was her tactic to make me think that she was maxing out here. But more than likely, they probably got about $500 on the low. But still, everybody's happy, and now I've got the ability to get home runs out of a bad area whenever I get a truck into the area. So it applies to what you were saying. It's sometimes you got to take the bad with the good. Um, and that's what part of like calling on that load's $1 a mile to California. Like, well, what can you offer me? It's kind of like help me understand why. Oh, because you're a new carrier, we've never worked with you, so of course we're not going to go above $1 a mile. Okay, why will you not work with me? Why? What is it about me? And try to alleviate those concerns. So, am I on the right track with all that?
Yeah, and I was going to say, and also the flip side of it is sometimes for both the broker and the carrier with direct shippers, like even brokers have to go through that same process whereby we have to take those cheap loads, try to show that we can cover them, get them picked up and delivered with decent carriers, and but the flip side is sometimes that all elusive for, like, say you heard, oh yeah, this shipper's got a lot of loads and that we get paid really really well, so they're saying, yeah, there's lots of loads that we can't cover, so you should get in there. So you get in there and you get through there, and all of a sudden you found out that, hey, what this requires is anytime you have to be a runner, and you're going to get called Friday at 5 o'clock, Monday at 6 a.m. You sometimes will even have weekend callouts that you have to be prepared to do at any time to be able to have this account. You're like, that doesn't really fit our business model, right?
Right.
Sometimes it just doesn't always fit, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's just because someone says it's the all elusive, again, it all comes down to, there's a partnership there to understand how the business works. And
Yeah.
again, it takes a long time. Let's say you have a customer where, you're seeing they paid pretty good, and they, everything else, but the way they're very disorganized. But to go to a shipper that you don't know and saying, hey, have you considered changing your practice here or this? Let's say once you've done some loads and you realize that they're always scrambling at the end of the month or this or that, just whatever it is that you're saying, boy, if they just made this couple changes, their operation would be so much better, and they wouldn't be panicking for trucks, and I wouldn't be panicking either. But in order to have that right to present that, it takes a long time to establish those deep relationships to be able to be that. If you bring that up, sometimes that can backfire you, and they'll just, well, if you don't like our way, we'll find someone else that does.
Right.
You
You,
know,
you
so
lose leverage. So.
yeah, yeah, no, you do, and that's so when we talk about doing something different, like you hear about, someone made the comment about certain cultures run cheap. Well, again, it goes back to what is cheap, and I think the way you explained it is the best. Before we assume that they run cheap, I can tell you firsthand they don't. Don't be misunderstood. They know their numbers, and they're vying for higher rates all the time. Like, it's like they're trained. When I get on the phone with dispatchers, no matter what I say to certain carriers, their dispatch will always come up $200 to $400, no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what. It's just like they're trained them. Yeah, always ask for more. Always, always, always. Right? And that's what I even call their bluff on that. I said, you must be told to always say, because the way I know, and this is peeling back the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
So if a carrier calls me, and if I ask them for a rate, oh, I don't know. I said, hang on. Before you tell me you don't know. So that means that if I give you a rate, you can't negotiate because you already told me you don't know the rate.
Wow. The
So
fact that someone would tell you that, it just blows my
because
mind.
now they're saying, well, what do you have in mind? Because then, or else if they don't give me a number that they had, they'll say, well, what do you have in mind? Because I'll say, well, they kind of skirt around. They want to see what my rate is. So if I give them a rate, well, actually, I was thinking this. How did you know that? How'd you come up with that? I didn't give you, like, so that's the point. Like, you saw my email the other day, how I break things down, and that's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the a lot of people, like, when I ask carriers, I'll say, and often I'll say, when they want $400 more, I will challenge them, saying, "How did you come up with that number?" Right?
Well,
And
is
or
is it is it possible that? And I'm sorry to interrupt. Is it
no,
possible that they're just saying I don't know to get you to set the anchor first? Because a lot
could
of
be.
negotiators, but I would think I if I want them to set the anchor first, I would want to do it in a way that makes it look like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I wouldn't use the term I don't know. Well, what rate do you have? Well, um, is there a target rate that you're going to? It's like there's a better way to do that. Do you agree with that? And do you think that
Yeah.
that tactic is just poorly executed, but that's what the tactic is when a carrier tells you they don't know, or do you honestly think that they honestly don't know?
No, they know, but that's their leverage. But I'm just playing that game to them. I'm calling their bluff before that they can try to leverage. Because that's the part. Like I don't mind when they want to negotiate, but all of a sudden I give them a number, and they're like, "Oh, that's way off." So it's kind of like, yeah, like when they just don't know like where the starting point is or the end point is, right? Because
Mhm.
everyone is different and unique as far as that negotiation goes, but you kind of have to study the market to know what is what, and
Mhm.
I think that's too often, and that's what I'm not a that's why I'm not a big fan of the emails, right? Because emailing the whole thing, I know a lot of brokers are only email only. Well, that takes away the leverage because no one can talk. And
Mhm.
when you, because, okay, email's fine, just like shippers, right? You can email shippers to start, hey, are you looking for trucks, so forth. We have access to trucks, or we have this service, we have that service, or hey, we always send trucks into this area. We're always looking for backhauls. So whatever you're doing to get your foot in the door, that's all an email does. But eventually you have to communicate with some people to better understand. You'll
Mhm.
never gain depth and understanding about the carrier, the broker, the shipper, the consignee, all by email. It just won't happen. Pure and simple. There's no question about that.
A lot of times, I'll be in an email chain with a broker for a while I've never worked with, and then once I do get them on the phone, I'm like, oh, now I know why, because they don't articulate their words really well, or or they tend to be a little bit foul mouthed, or something like that, and so you can look more professional than you are with an email. You can put your signature in there. You can, you have predictive text that will do everything, and so yeah, sometimes the email thing is an advantage, but it's also a disadvantage as well. Are you messing with your sound again? No audio. No audio. All right. So we'll let him figure that out. So I hung up on him. So did you figure it out?
There we go. I don't know
There
if
you
you can
are.
hear me now or not.
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you now. You muted yourself. You're all
I
over the
did.
place, CDN.
I don't know why. I must be coming through my phone now. I don't think it's coming through my headset. So,
It is.
but yeah, no, it's just it's always a constant battle. Like maybe next week I'll have to come on and share a story about the challenges like doing something you don't know, and that's back to that story with um, certain cultures saying, oh, they run cheap, but again, that's cheap in what perspective? And
Mhm.
maybe what are they like? I think the way you worded it is excellent. Better to gain, you have to question to gain insight and understanding to why something is something. So just the assumption is, oh, they run cheap. That may not be the case, because do you think that doesn't matter your your nationality? Everyone succumb to the marketplace of insurance, right? When you're a new carrier, you're going to be paying high insurance versus a carrier with some tenure, and that's just the nature of trucking. And all of them are the same. Buying tires, yeah, maybe they have a bigger buying power. Who knows? Maybe they got community that they've created and they're able to buy things lower cost. I don't know, but you see them in the same truck shops as you guys. So I don't know if they're getting anything different or special, right? So, but I think gaining insight and understanding is key there, and then that's the other thing is that's where you're seeing more and more. Like I've heard you guys talk about C.H. Robinsons and doing less and less. They're not posting as much on the freight boards. It's all internal.
Right.
And
Yeah.
why they're doing that is they must they only post on the load boards for their infrequent freight. I suspect if you were to peel back the curtain on some of those bigger brokerages, they're holding their freight close to their hand, just like poker, and they're only giving it to those that they trust.
Yeah. I agree with that. And plus, they can use those algorithms off their apps to their own advantage. They basically are doing their own data mining.
Yeah,
And
it's funny when you hear about AI pricing stuff. I yet have had, knock on wood, but I don't have any. I have tools access, but nothing has given me AI pricing because too much of what I do doesn't like the pricing for loads going across the border. If you were to look on DATs or the truck stops or 123 load board, and you looked at the rates for a lane cross border, they are the way of how the rates looked when it was 2.5 years ago and you guys were getting $4 or $5 a mile. And if you looked at the rate board, the rate boards were way off of what you were actually getting paid.
mm-hmm.
Right. So the Canadian loads have nothing to do with that. Like, for example, a flatbed load cost wise, you'd have to convert it. I have to convert it to US dollars, but from basically Montreal, Canada to Los Angeles, California is $9,500 right now, Canadian dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you went on 123 load board and looked up a rate check on Montreal, Canada to Los Angeles, it's nowhere, that rate will be nowhere near $9,500.
Wow.
So if you divide that, I don't have a calculator in front of me, but basically divide that by 1.33, and that'll give you an approximate value in US dollars.
Let's see. Let me do that real quick. 9,500 divided by what?
Try 1.33.
That's 71.42 and change.
Yeah. So it might be like US carriers would probably want something like $7,500, closer to the $8,000 range. And then, but there's some mileage there, no question about it. But
Right.
it's the thing there. And then see, dealing with a little side story, and then I'll let you go because my phone's going to die because I'm down to 9% here. But the little story. So I have a load going from Canada going to Las Vegas, Nevada, and two loads. One crosses the border, no problems. The second load, there's a challenge with the customs. So adding customs does add a significant element. There was a particular product, well, a few pieces of this particular product that regulations are constantly changing. If any of you were to start doing cross border, you really got to sharpen your pencil because yes, are you creating the customs? No, you're not. But you need to understand what to look for in the customs. You need to understand the commodities and which commodities have any special restrictions. And like for example, let's say you took a truckload of sweaters, right? All boxes from sweaters going from summers in the United States to summers in Canada, or vice versa. Well, you have to come from the United States into Canada in order for it to cross the border with clothing. You have to have a textile declaration form, and that textile declaration form has to include where the original raw goods came from. So even if they were sewn in the United States, but where did that material come from? You have to have the address of the original raw location. There are steel requirements. There are aluminum requirements. There's two different aluminum requirements. One is basically both the United States and Canada, but particularly Canada, United States is tracking aluminum shipments because certain aluminums could be, potentially people want to melt it down or destroy it, and they want to avert proper ways, and they do that. So they're managing, they're monitoring. So you have to fill out. Back in 2021, they implemented a new policy that you have to fill out an aluminum license for certain tariff codes. Then this year, April 10th of this year, they implemented a smelting license. So you have to, if you have like one piece of aluminum, there's an aluminum declaration form that you have to fill. It's a smelting form, and you have to identify the largest smelting country for that product. So you have to, even if you bought the goods from someone else, and then you have it and you're reselling it or shipping it across the border to use at a job site, you have to trace it back to where was this bought. And if it was originally bought in the United States by some other company, then they shipped it to Canada, and then someone in Canada sold to them and to them. And so the story is, because I'm down to 6% here on my phone, I forgot to charge it last night. is I had a carrier stuck at the border because of this. We had other issues. We solved those. And so the border this is a Wednesday. So Wednesday, the shipment didn't clear. No, this is Tuesday, because Tuesday was supposed to clear so they can deliver this Thursday. The other truck delivered on time, but so long story short was, so Tuesday we find out it's not going to clear. So we sent the driver home, had to pay him detention fee, a layover fee. Next morning, we discover that this whole smelting issue is complicated. So that my customer says, okay, let's send the truck back to us. We're going to remove those pieces. We're just not going to ship them. We'll amend the customs invoice. So in this process, okay, this is now Wednesday. And the time this all came down, I might be losing power here quick. Wednesday comes and it's like 1 o'clock. The carrier says, well, the driver doesn't want to go now. So long story, we end up, if we wanted it delivered by Friday, they were going to charge me layover for Saturday, Sunday, because they lost their load on Friday. And so what we end up doing is I negotiated that, fine, if you want a Monday delivery, then I'm not paying the weekend layover. And they agreed to that. So there was fees, but it's complicated. So a load that started on Tuesday is supposed to deliver Thursday, picks up Tuesday, is now not going to deliver till Monday. And there was fees associated and so forth. So, but I'll be losing you pretty darn quick. I'm down to 3%. So thanks for the time, and just wanted to share that little truck thing. And but yeah, you guys are on the right track about customers and shippers. But I'll be eventually. I haven't had time, but I want to make a video about polite persistence wears down resistance, and this ties to that. And I'll be making that shortly. But there's no right, there's no wrong. Every situation is different and unique, and you have to take each situation of the parties you're dealing with to gain the insight and understanding, and that takes patience and persistence, and to figure out, is there value for me, and if there is, what are the steps for me to get to where I need to that elusive high-paying loads with these customers. But there can be a price, and what's the price, that whether that's a broker or shipper, but there's always going to be a price, and are you willing to pay it? So
well, thanks, CDN. We appreciate your insight all the time. At least I do. And thanks for coming in. Have a great rest of your vacation.
I'm not on vacation. I'm just I gotta go to work. Don't you worry. I'll be working.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Talk later.
Bye. All right, that was CDN. I think I'm going to end this here because I got to get to work myself. So, and I might make that last part into a short. So, but anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. Strength for today. Hope for tomorrow. And whoops, let's put the outro up here. And aggression turns to screws. Later.